Something occurs to me, I said. Yes? It occurs to me that the story I just told is in fact the story the leavers have been enacting here for 3 million years. The taker story is, the gods made the world for man, but they botched the job, so we had to take matters into our own, more competent hands. The leaver story is, the gods made man for the world, the same way they made salmon and sparrows and rabbits for the world. This seems to have worked pretty well so far, so we can take it easy and leave the running of the world to the gods. That's right. There are other ways to tell it, just as there are other ways to tell the story of the takers, but this way of telling it is as good as any. I sat there for a while. I'm thinking about the meaning of the world, divine intentions in the world, and the destiny of man, according to this story. Go ahead. The meaning of the world, I think the 3rd chapter of Genesis had it right. It's a garden, the God's garden. I say this even though I myself very much doubt that gods have anything to do with it. I just find this a wholesome and encouraging way to think of it. I understand. And there are 2 trees in the garden, one for the gods and one for us. The one for them is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and the one for us is the tree of life. But we can only find the tree of life if we stay in the garden. And we can only stay in the garden if we keep our hands off the God's tree. Ishmael gave me a nod of encouragement. Divine intentions, it would seem. There's a sort of tendency in evolution, wouldn't you say? If you start with those ultra-simple critters in the ancient seas and move up step by step to everything we see here and now, and beyond, then you have to observe a tendency toward complexity and toward self-awareness and intelligence. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. That is, all sorts of creatures on this planet appear to be on the verge of attaining that self-awareness and intelligence, so it's definitely not just humans that the gods are after. We were never meant to be the only players on this stage. Apparently the gods intend this planet to be a garden filled with creatures that are self-aware and intelligent. So it would appear. And if this is so, then man's destiny would seem to be plain. Yes, amazingly enough it is plain, because man is the first of all these. He's the trailblazer, the pathfinder. His destiny is to be the first to learn that creatures like man have a choice. They can try to thwart the gods and perish in the attempt, or they can stand aside and make some room for all the rest. But it's more than that. His destiny is to be the father of them all. I don't mean by direct descent. By giving all the rest their chance, the whales and the dolphins and the chimps and the raccoons, he becomes in some sense their progenitor. Oddly enough, it's even grander than the destiny the takers dreamed up for us. How so? Just think, in 1 billion years, whatever's around then, whoever's around then says, man. Oh yes, man. What a wonderful creature he was. And it was within his grasp to destroy the entire world and to trample all our futures into the dust. But he saw the light before it was too late and pulled back. He pulled back and gave the rest of us our chance. He showed us all how it had to be done if the world was going to go on being a garden forever. Man was the role model for us all. Not a shabby destiny. Not a shabby destiny by any means. And it occurs to me that this... Yes? This gives a little shape to the story. The world is a very, very fine place. It wasn't a mess. It didn't need to be conquered and ruled by man. In other words, the world doesn't need to belong to man, but it does need man to belong to it. Some creatures had to be the first to go through this, had to see that there were 2 trees in the garden, one that was good for the gods and one that was good for creatures. Some creatures had to find the way, and if that happened, then there was just no limit to what could happen here. In other words, man does have a place in the world, but it's not his place to rule. The gods have that in hand. Man's place is to be the first. Man's place is to be the first without being the last. Man's place is to figure out how it's possible to do that, and then to make some room for all the rest who are capable of becoming what he's become. And maybe, when the time comes, it's man's place to be the teacher of all the rest who are capable of becoming what he's become. Not the only teacher, not the ultimate teacher. Maybe only the first teacher, the kindergarten teacher, but even that wouldn't be too shabby. And do you know what? What? All along, I've been saying to myself, yes, this is all very interesting, but what good is it? This isn't going to change anything. And now? This is what we need. Not just stopping things, not just less of things. People need something positive to work for. They need a vision of something that, I don't know, something that... I think what you're groping for is that people need more than to be scolded more than to be made to feel stupid and guilty. They need more than a vision of doom. They need a vision of the world and of themselves that inspires them. Yes, definitely. Stopping pollution is not inspiring. Sorting your trash is not inspiring. Cutting down on fluorocarbons is not inspiring. But this, thinking of ourselves in a new way, thinking of the world in a new way, this. I let it go. What the hell? He knew what I was trying to say.